Hi, Ken.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
I watched, I didn't have time to watch your entire video, but I would like very much to play that last few minutes regarding that you were talking about in that video that you did yesterday. Would you mind if I did that, if I showed that?
It's a public record. If you want to do that, that's fine. It's available on YouTube. I assume that's where you got it.
Yeah, I have it set up to just the last few minutes there regarding our situation, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
I tried to make it not specific to you because these are not
No.
unique
You
problems.
mentioned there was another organization as well, but I think it's got some good points that should be recognized.
Are you only letting board members in now, or is everyone
No,
who logs on getting?
no, we have owners here as well. Where are your offices located?
I'm in Seattle. If you know
Right.
Seattle much, I'm
Oh, yeah. I live in
near
Buffalo.
North Gateway and Aurora Avenue.
Oh, yeah. I'm very familiar.
If you knew where the Oak Tree Market is or where Larry's Market was years ago,
Yep.
across the street from that.
This is Jim, Elias. Jim, this is Ken. Is it Harrer? Is that how you say that?
Not hair, but I'm very
Sure.
flexible.
Okay. Jim is on the board. Yeah. And Becky, his wife. Hi, Becky. Sometimes we call Jim Becky because he signs in as Becky.
Well, he could change that if he wanted to.
I think he likes it.
That's one of the things that had been proposed, was that for everyone who signed in on Zoom, that the label identify the unit number and their name.
And I went in and I changed one of my settings so that people could not do aliases. At least I didn't realize I had a setting that allowed for aliases. So at least people's names are now showing. So anyway.
Yeah, I've seen a host go through and do the naming because they did it also for the people who called in on a phone that could not name themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I can rename myself.
And this is Bob Jackins. Bob is another current board member. Bob, this is Ken Harar.
Hi, Ken.
Hello.
Could I please ask whoever is at 206-334-5342 to identify yourself or your unit, please?
I have to unmute.
Oh, okay. Could the person my button's not working. Just a second.
Gail Tilmont, and can you send me a Zoom link on my phone?
Oh, I'm sorry,
to my
Zoom.
email so I can see.
Thank you, Gail. I can forward it to your email. I'm sorry, I thought,
Yeah,
okay, let me,
that's fine. Just do that and then I'll come back on if I can, okay?
okay, I'm gonna have
Right
you,
now, I'll stay like this.
I'll have Yvonne send it so I don't have to go off the Zoom meeting here.
Okay, great. Thanks. Bye-bye. Open. You want to mute me? I don't know how to mute myself.
Oh. Yeah.
I know how to unmute myself now, but I don't know how to do it. Okay,
Yeah, I've
open
got
mute.
it. Yvonne? No. Nikki, can you do me a favor and send Gail Beaumont the email invitation to the Zoom meeting?
Oh,
so she
I
can
just did.
no, not to
I
Nikki,
just
to
did. I'll
Gail.
do it.
To Gail, please.
I just did it. I'll figure out how to get it to her phone.
Okay. And can Nikki Walters is another board member?
Sent
Oh,
it
you
to
know
her, Yvonne.
Thank you, Nikki. Could I please ask the person at 360-642-4880 to identify yourself?
Joe and Trudy Leister, 323.
Thank you very much. We'll give people a few more minutes here, 5 more minutes, and we'll start. Or not. Okay.
Judy, it looks like Dawn and Vicky Becker have a question. They have their hand up.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yes, go ahead, Don and Vicky. I think I unmuted you.
Yeah, just while you're waiting, just a little curious, is this a new procedure or we have to ask for an invitation?
No, I sent out an invitation yesterday with the video email that I sent. It was part of the agenda. The link was at the top of the agenda. Apparently people missed it. So I'm
Oh,
sorry that
okay.
you did not see that.
I guess
I
we
sent it
missed
out
it as
again.
well.
That's okay. I apologize that you missed it, that it
All
was.
right.
I searched for it as well. I found it, but yeah, it was.
I'm glad you caught it, Don, so I was able to send it out again. Okay, I thought I saw, there we go. Where is it? Yvonne, could you please be co-host and help me let people in so we could go ahead and start the meeting? I just made you co-host. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and start the meeting by certifying that we have a quorum here. Everyone is here with the exception of Rick. He is going to try and show up. However, he currently has COVID and shingles. And so he's a little bit sick. And Jason has to work, so I'm not sure if he'll be here or not. And I'm going to put up the minutes. Whoops, wrong one. Where did it go? Can you let people in, Yvonne? You capable? Okay. Share my screen, find the minutes. That's not the one I want. We'll go here. Okay, can I have a motion to certify quorum, please? Nikki, maybe?
This is Bob. I'll motion to certification. We have 4 board members present.
Okay. And Nikki, could you certify? I mean, could you second the
I
motion?
second, yeah, I second the
All in
motion to
favor?
certify. Aye.
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 Okay. And then we need to certify last month's minutes. Can I have a motion? There they are. Can you see them?
Judy, can I ask a question, please?
We're not having any questions during the meeting, and we have the right to do that according to our lawyer. We're not going
I
to.
would just like to know where the minutes are that others can view them.
They are, if they're not currently in the homeowners folder on chautauquaresort.com, they will be by the end of the meeting. I
Okay,
believe
thank you.
the
That was my
December-
only question.
Yeah, I believe the December minutes are there by now.
Yeah. They go in after
Okay.
certification.
So
I
can
move
I
to
have-
certify.
thank you, Bob. And can I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. So I'd like to start by introducing our new council. Let me get this out of the way. Stop the share. And Ken Harer is our new counsel from condolaw.net. I don't know how many of you received the video email that I sent out yesterday explaining why we had canceled the recall meeting for yesterday, but it was under the advice of Ken, and I'm not really going to go into that again. I did send that email out to everyone. If you did not receive it, please send me an email or a text, and I would be happy to send it to you again. But what I would like to do is play a small bit of video. Ken actually does video. Ken, can you explain exactly what it is that you do on a weekly basis for people? That would be.
We started doing Q&A Zoom calls every Wednesday morning when the pandemic started, because a lot of our clients and managers were trying to figure out how best to navigate during the pandemic with their condos and HOAs. So I've been doing every Wednesday morning about an hour of Q&A. We have anywhere from 50 to 80 people attend that each week. And it's morphed from being just COVID related to essentially answering questions that are submitted by the audience the day before regarding anything related to condos or homeowner associations in Washington state. And so at least one of your members has been attending for, I guess, a few weeks. And some of the questions that get raised, we try to generalize in order to be useful to the large group, because I do not provide legal advice to individual associations on these calls. And we can't provide legal advice because we don't have all the facts and the governing documents for every community that might call in. So it's been about 22 months we've been doing this. And I think she's going to play a piece of a Zoom call from yesterday.
Yes, that's what I'm going to do, because it actually pertains to our situation regarding recall. So I'm going to turn that on right now. It's just very brief. And I need to go back to sharing my screen. Sorry. Let's go here. Let's see if that'll help me get there. Yeah, to the minutes. We'll close that out right now and go to the Zoom call. Can you all see that? Yvonne, can you see that?
It's
Yep.
appearing on my screen.
Okay, great.
Okay, that's all of the questions that we had in advance and from the chat. So Ken, if you want to move on to your topic, feel free.
Okay, so we've had a situation where a association that is in litigation and has an attorney appointed by defense counsel is also involved in a dispute amongst the owners regarding governance. And so I don't want to get involved in any of the details about that particular client, but I think there are some useful things for managers and owners out there that they should be considering when you have warring factions or disputes within communities and you are trying to manage the community in compliance with the requirements of law. And one of them is that you want to make sure that the procedures required by your documents or by statutes are properly complied with, and that all of the different factions agree that they have been properly complied with. So if you've got 2 or 3 or 4 attorneys involved in the disputes amongst the association, those attorneys should be agreeing on the procedures as to actions taken by the association. If you've got a dispute on process, then you should be discussing it and trying to figure out what you can do, whether that's related to how notice is provided, how proxies are done, how voting is done. There should be a way that people can agree so that at the end of a process, everyone accepts the results. What you want to avoid is more litigation because the process that was used is disputed by some faction of owners. And we've seen this happen a lot. And so one of the things we would recommend is take the time and communicate with the parties over just the process. You don't have to agree, but what you want to do, I mean, you don't have to agree on the outcome at the end of the process, but you want to agree that the process is followed. And if you've got a vote of owners, a vote of the board, however it's done, that it is going to put into place an undisputed spokesperson, as it were, for the association. And what we see in a lot of these disputes, and not just the one which came to my office last week, but I've got another client over in Bellevue, which has been dealing with these kinds of issues for a number of years, is we see owners or factions of owners trying to create urgency through threats and causing people to make decisions without having adequate inquiry and without having objective information upon which to base their decisions. The case which created for Washington State and really the rest of the country the standard of care that board members have to exercise in making decisions is a Washington case called Risk v. Angel. And it established through the courts a duty of inquiry by the board members and a duty of the use of objective information. One of the other aspects about this case, which a lot of people ignore, is that after the board made a decision which they were not authorized to make, they put it out to a vote of the owners. And the owners voted in favor of the decision the board made, and the Washington State Supreme Court issued an order requiring all of the owners of the association to pay the attorney's fees for the plaintiff, which was Risk. And what I am certain happened is that not only did the board members fail to get objective information and make informed decisions, but the owners who then supported the board's decision also failed to do inquiry and make decisions based on objective information. And so it really concerns me when boards and owners start making decisions because they get into a panic and they don't have objective information to rely on. And as an attorney who's brought into a case, one of the first things I need to do is start finding out what objective information there is and what documents have actually been provided in order to evaluate and guide my client on how the decisions should be made. And, you know, as part of this, people always want to know, am I representing the board or am I representing the association? And my answer is I represent the association, but I do take my direction from and give my advice to the board. And that's how any kind of an association operates with their attorneys. So individual owners cannot contact the association's attorney and expect to get responses or expect to get advice back, because you are not the representative of the client, even though the association is the client. And I am always impressed when these issues come up about I'll say the urgency which some of the parties try and create when there is likely no urgency, and that if the association takes the time to get the agreement of the different factions on how to proceed with the vote or approval of the budget or whatever the issue happens to be, then they are much less likely to end up with the equivalent of the January 6th riot on the Capitol from the members of the community because the membership disagrees with the outcome of the decision. So I'm interested in your thoughts too, Valerie.
So that
No,
was,
I agree with all of that. And I think I put a
Oops,
link into
sorry
the
about
chat
that.
for the Risk v. Angel case
Just a
so
sec,
that
let me
people can
stop
read
that.
it and see what the circumstances were. And I think probably out of everything that you said, I just keep coming back to and feel.
Sorry, we don't need to go into that. Let me stop the share. So the point that I gleaned from your presentation was the thing that really stuck out to me beyond the fact of urgency was the fact of objective information. And I think what I would have liked to have seen in this entire thing was the opportunity to present objective information and the opportunity for everyone to have been able to sit down, ask questions calmly and discuss versus turn into a bout of anger. And I don't feel that ever happened, regardless of what
Can I make a point?
No, you cannot.
No.
This,
Yeah, you're the one that's
I'm
silent.
sorry.
The
No,
homeowner.
I'm sorry, you cannot, Kurt. This is,
You are the
you're
one
not
that
allowed to.
silenced the homeowners and have not given them the information they've asked. So don't sit there and play, oh, I want to get the information out to the homeowners. You're having a discussion with the homeowners.
So, as I was saying, that was what I would have liked to have seen.
I know. She silenced everybody.
If you continue to interrupt the meeting, I will put you in the waiting room because
Judy, you're muted. Judy, you're muted.
if you continue to interrupt, I will put you in the waiting room.
Well, how about if I just leave, okay?
That's fine, go ahead. You had the right to speak all day yesterday, and from my understanding, you did a great job of it. And now it's our turn. We do get to speak, at least today. And so, as I was saying, that's what I would have liked to have seen. And so that's why I wanted to play that. And the other board members, if they would like to speak, also have the opportunity to speak at this point in time. And I'd like
So
to.
no one else is allowed to speak other than you and the board members?
That's correct, Nelia. At this meeting, we are the board and we get to speak.
But
So-
how will I'm not allowed to speak?
Not at this meeting. It is a board meeting. So Do any of the board members want to speak at this time? Nikki, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I actually have a lot to say. I'm just really disappointed with the way things have gone about, and I'm just trying to formulate my mind right now. But essentially, I wrote a few things down, and I have a lot of questions and concerns myself with everything that we've run across. And, you know, I've been basically working 2 full-time jobs since September, trying to get all of this organized and get things separated and get things cleaned up and get things audited, because things were a disaster. And I don't understand why we're being criticized so greatly when we've been working really, really hard on everyone's behalf. And, you know,
Really? You are working on my behalf? Really?
Yeah, on the association's behalf, Nelia. I'm working on everybody's behalf because I'm organizing our books. So I have questions. I have questions. I have questions about what I've run across, essentially. Our previous treasurer took all of our financial records when she left. Her lawyer even denied that she had our documents when ours asked for them from her. I have emails to prove this. Then after her lawyer denied that she had these documents, Carol produced some that we requested almost 3 months later after I asked Gail to see if she could get them for us. This affected my ability to be able to apply for a tax credit that would benefit Chautauqua financially. Side note, Carol's excuse for being that she was never asked directly for these documents. How much more direct do we have to be when asking our attorney to ask her attorney for such documents during litigation when we are told not to contact the plaintiff directly? In an effort to get the past financial information, upon investigation, because I've had to do a lot of investigating, I was able to contact Mike Stoney, the accountant who handled our financials for 2017, 2018, and 2019. I was able to retrieve all of the tax documents and supporting documents that he was given for Chautauqua from him. The 2019 numbers that some of you were questioning last night were actuals from this previous accountant who worked solely with Carol during that time and who quit because of the disorganization of our association. Upon reviewing the financials for these 3 years, I understand why there are questions. I have questions, such as how did we go from $612,000 in 2018 to $339,000 in 2019 in condo sales? And then in 2017, there's a category under equity for owners assessments of $1,160,000. Then in that same—
That's a lot of figures that you are spouting there. Can we just stay on the—
We will put those I will put those all on the site for everyone to look at, but I'm trying to express what I'm looking at here and my concerns. We had equity for owners assessments of $1,160,000. Then that same category for 2018 is only $168,000. That is $1 million and a $900,000 swing from one year to the next. Carol was the only one in contact with Strand Insurance previous to her resignation. Debbie confirmed this and said that it was communicated in June that our insurance would not be renewed in September. This was not relayed to other board members and instead put us all at risk to be in operation without insurance coverage. It was only by opening boxes of mail that we came across the notification that our insurance would be canceling. And this was in 5 days. We had to scramble. I had to beg for a week's extension to avoid our having to shut down once again.
So Nikki, I understand that you believe that everything you're saying is true, but if you—
Our QuickBooks were in an ungodly state. Most everything entered.
What kind of meeting is this? I mean, what kind of meeting is this?
This is our meeting to talk.
Our chance to talk. We
never get to talk because we're always interrupted.
And it's our chance to talk now.
Most everything entered via journal, and our QuickBooks were a mess. Most everything entered via journal entry, very poor documentation, receipts and invoices missing, entries duplicated, invoices not marked as paid off, assessment invoices entered as income, whereas the actual payments were not are not reflecting. We're trying to fix it. Inaccurate.
So proud
homeowners
of you. I am really proud of you, Nikki. Really,
I would like
really,
to
and
don't
truly.
need to interrupt Nelia. She's not finished.
Inaccurate homeowners accounts, payments not reflecting among other things. For a will and have substantiated the state of our QuickBooks and why it has taken so very long to try and get them corrected. There is just a single journal entry of $150,000 SBA loan that we have to pay back. No documentation of how this money was spent and no bank deposit of that amount into any of our bank accounts that I can see at this time that was entered or received. As received. We have no information in which to try to log into the account and set up payments. So we have had to contact the SBA office and are going through the approval process so we can try to access the account. Upon reviewing the getaway projection form, the loan is listed as payments starting in 2021. So it is possible that we are currently delinquent on a government loan and are accruing late fees or ending up paying a much higher interest rate as punishment. We have run into the negatives for years, not collecting enough assessments to cover our bills and not enough special assessments to cover the maintenance needed to keep our buildings open and safe and in decent shape in which to attract quality guests. There is no history of an audit being done ever. There is no history of a reserve study being done by professionals, which is necessary as we are not engineers or contractors. So how would we know what really needed to be fixed? Another reason why our buildings were red tagged. FYI, I have yet to receive, as promised, the supposed reserve study that Carol stated she did at the November 13th meeting. A legally required reserve was not instituted over the years in our budget, leaving us without monies needed to address maintenance and repairs. The treasurer had allowed for years for the accounts to be commingled financially, which upon review of the past financials, the hotel had been carrying the condos for years. Being that the hotel is for profit and condos are not for profit, this is not good business practice. In addition, both assessments and special assessments were deposited into the same operating account, not separate accounts to allow for proper documentation of what the money was spent on. I'd like to know why, if Carol had objections to the management agreement, did she not voice them and try to have a conversation during any of our meetings? Instead of communicating and having adult conversations with the board, Chester, and homeowners, she filed a lawsuit against us, causing the strife between all of us and financial costs and it seems even more financial costs ahead considering the suing spree that is being threatened. This could also have been discussed during the process. There were months in which to do so. She chose not to. And so we are here now. These are just a few of my biggest questions or concerns. How is this honest or responsible behavior for our previous treasurer of a decade? And why would we want to put her back in a position where she is able to stack our board and regain control of our operations? The previous treasurer of whom during November 13th meeting tried to say she was not our treasurer of all those years. I ask you why she would try to deny that. It is especially curious when it's done a few days prior to her filing the lawsuit. From the meeting last night, to have Carol, the person suing our association, count the votes to remove our board is a complete conflict of interest and does not qualify as a fair voting process or one that is detailed by our bylaws as well as state laws. Do we really want people on the board who consistently bully her and harass the current board and other homeowners who call them out or disagree with them? Do we believe that they will be fair in governing our association? Do you think that they will not continue with the same behavior should any other homeowners challenge them on anything? You can bet that they will not treat any of us current board members fairly. Are these the kind of people that we want to represent us? Is this really who Chautauqua is? The meeting last night was canceled. However, we did say that a fair voting process would be rescheduled in the future. So we do not intend to prevent homeowners from that opportunity. Thank you for listening.
I need to hear from Mr. Lawyer.
All right, I'm happy to talk a little bit. I've been involved with your association for less than a week. I have seen very few documents. I have seen the lawsuit. I've seen your condo declaration. I've seen your bylaws. I spent most of my time with your bylaws trying to make sure that the procedures that would be used for the recall election or the recall vote and an election can be followed properly. I can offer that just by the fact that your building was condemned, I could say that the boards in the past had not met their duty of care to take care of the association. I don't know who the people were on the boards. I don't know why it got to the point where the buildings were condemned, but it's, I would say, pretty easy for me to establish that the minimum standard of care had not been met if a building could be condemned by the local municipality. I am having an incredibly difficult time getting information that would allow me to help advise the association. So I understand that there may not be records that would allow anybody to perform some of the decision-making which is necessary. So in some respects, you are all kind of making decisions with poor information. If indeed there are no CPA audits for the last, let's say, 30 years, then the association has been in violation of a statute which took effect in 1990. Because in 1990, your community would have been required to have a CPA audit every year. It was not optional, it would have been required. And if what Nikki's saying is there are no audits, then that would have been a violation of the law by all the previous boards. You have an incredibly unusual structure in that you've got a complex which is half hotel, half condo. You have an unusual structure in that the condominium is operated largely as a hotel. That's not unique. I've got a client in Lake Chelan, which is a hotel where every room is owned by somebody as a condominium. And you had, I would say, one of the few things that sort of comes across, I don't have good evidence for, is there's been an incredible reluctance, probably dating back many, many years, to fund the necessary cost of operating, maintaining, and managing the facilities. And I would guess, because this is true of most associations, that most of the objections that come up to any decision, whether it was to make the, enter into the management contract, whether it's to change the members of the board, whether it's to put a new roof on the building, all these decisions are being driven by individual owners' personal finances, not by decisions about what's best for the association or long-term for the community. You have, by practice, adopted a number of procedures in how you conduct your business, like this board meeting. For some reason, owners believe they are entitled to attend board meetings. There is no legal entitlement for the owners to attend board meetings. Nothing in the statutes.
We were invited to attend.
I didn't say you weren't invited. I said you had no legal entitlement. And by the same notion, you have no legal entitlement to speak or participate at board meetings. So the fact that the board allows members to participate is encouraged by my law firm. We think that transparency and open meetings are a good thing, but that's only true if the participation by the owners does not distract from the board's ability to perform its function. And I would say it's very clear that allowing the owners to attend meetings and speak whenever they want has been very distracting to the performance of your particular community. I was retained on Friday last week, and the only order of business I was presented with was the special meeting to recall the board, which was, as I understood, but had no documentation for, scheduled for yesterday, the 19th. And it was my recommendation because I had absolutely no way of evaluating whether the meeting had been properly called, to it was my recommendation to cancel the meeting, and that's why the notice came from my office. I was not instructed to do that by your board in order to preserve their positions on the board. I actually don't have an opinion about whether they should be on your board or not on your board. I have an opinion that the procedure should be one that's not challenged at the end of the meeting. Nothing had been done to handle how an election would be handled should the board be removed. And I wanted to make sure that that was done properly. One of the things I've provided to the board, and I believe the full board has it, is a set of procedures and essentially instructions for how to conduct the recall meeting and the election if people are recalled, that is agreed to by the attorney for Carol Cabe. And in part, I think that's appropriate because Carol received more than 20 proxies from other owners. So presumably if Carol's attorney is going to agree the procedure is fair, then she and those 20 some owners would also agree it was fair. The only order of business, which I'm really concerned about your board dealing with tonight, and it is a board issue, not an owner issue, is approving a date for the recall meeting and approving procedures so that the process can be done without interference, without fraud, and that all of the people who participate get the same opportunity. And so I'm hoping that at some point in tonight's meeting, that will be a topic of discussion.
Thank you, Ken.
This is Bob Jackins. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. Just a quick note. I bought 2 years ago this month, condo, not as a strictly speaking investment, but something that we've wanted to do, go to Long Beach in a long time. Of course, COVID hit shortly after that. It's just a little over a year ago. I was asked to join the board. I had some board experience. I'm not on this board for glory. I'm not on this board for power or anything else. Frankly, if they had a good idea of people that wanted to get on the board and do things differently, I'd resign in a heartbeat. So I'm not too worried about how the election goes. I just want to reiterate, a year ago, we were red tagged, closed down, looking at over $1 million in repairs. And I think that what we have done in the last 12 months has been a benefit, whether they want to admit it or not, to every single owner that's out there. We are got the place running. The books are in the black. It looks like things are going well. Nobody knows for sure how they'll end up. But like I said, this is a service I'm doing. It's not something that I do for the power or the glory of it. And hopefully if it goes forward and they remove members of the board, they'll have somebody in place that's not just a grandstander that wants to see things flying up in the air, but that really want to continue to see how the board is and the condos are improving. The association overall is doing very well. And I'll leave that to Chester, but that's my 2 cents worth. Thank you again.
Jim, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I guess I will. When the place was built in '74, it's been mismanaged ever since, to a point where in 2005, we had to get a big loan from the Mather family. We still owe over $300,000 on the bailout of the mismanagement. Every year since I've been involved, the yearly assessments we were asked to pay them early so that we could make payroll, so that we could pay behind taxes, so that we could pay our insurance, our lease. And this year, after hiring a management company, and we've been running about 6 months, 7 months, we haven't had the need to beg for money from our homeowners. And I think that's a huge step in the right direction to get this place better, managed better. And it is being managed better. And the repairs yet are so big. I can't imagine what it'll cost to get it all ready to go. Some of the new owners that want us out think that there's big money in the rental pool. But for now, we need to repair the building, the grounds. We need a new roof. We need sprinkler systems put into buildings. We need new driveways, just a number of things. And without a reserve, we're never going to be able to do all that. And so I think the way we're going right now, we have a chance to improve the property. And we just got to keep the course. I mean, over the past few years, we've been assessed, what, $20,000 for upgrades of things. And so anyway, I just want to see us continue with our current management and get this place running better and looking better. So, and I appreciate your input, Ken. Your amazing wealth of knowledge for us. And hopefully we can continue on this path. Thanks.
I'd like to quickly point out just some of the things in case we had tried to present them at the biannual meeting and we were literally shouted down there as to some of the achievements that actually happened last year that the board was involved with. Some of the problems that we tackled. For one thing, our tax ID numbers for the hotel lots and the condo lots had always been flipped. And we were able to correct that so that we now have the correct tax ID numbers on the properties where they belong. We transferred the Dunes lot back to the HOA, back to the condo owners, so that the condo owners now actually, beyond owning your condo, you own the Dunes property. The condos are on leased land, but you own the Dunes property now, which you did not before. We renegotiated and recorded a new deed of trust for the Mather loan on the hotel property per his request. We legally divided the Chautauqua Lodge LLC from the Chautauqua Hotel, or from the Chautauqua Lodge Association. That was something, by the way, that Getaways had wanted to do. They had it all set up for you to vote on, and that never happened. And I'd like to know why that never happened. I never heard about it. I was a homeowner just like you, and that never came up. So I'm wondering why. Up until this year, we ran on one tax ID number, and all of our monies for both the hotel and the condo went into one account, or actually we had four, but they were all commingled. We now have two tax ID numbers, a nonprofit tax ID number for the HOA and a tax ID number for the hotel. And that is as a result of the work of this board. We cleaned up the questionable and commingled accounting. We're still in the process of doing that. I know you don't understand it. It's been difficult. It's still a work in progress, but we do have two separate accounts. And that's still, and we have an accounting firm that's handling it. And they've gotten your assessments out to you. They're still working on that. We are in the process of also sending you out paper billing, and that's thanks a lot to what Gail heard from Ken. And we're a work in process, or progress, I guess you say. We've been trying to learn as we go, because none of us have been experts at this. And so there are paper bills that are actual bills that are coming your way. So there's that. We hired a CPA who's now in the process of working on year-end taxes, and they will be getting the K-1s out. We balanced all the owner accounts. We have collected to date $79,990 in arrears of assessments from homeowners. We are currently, there's still outstanding $118,237.21 in back assessments from homeowners and $18,453,000 outstanding loan. This is money owed to the homeowners association. These are people who have condos who have not paid their dues, and someone who has a loan with the homeowners association. These are people who owe money to you. And we would like to send that to collections because they haven't been paid. But because we're in a lawsuit and because you're looking to replace the board, we have been advised to not do anything about that right now. So that's not going to happen. But last year, we did collect $79,990. Some of these have been out there for years and nothing has been done about it. And again, this money affects you, the homeowners, us, the homeowners. So that's something that we did. We found insurance, Nikki found insurance at the last minute, insurance that covers your condo. If we hadn't done that and the condos had burned down, we would have been uninsured. We corrected all the point of contacts on all of the utilities, all of the taxes, so that we knew when they were coming due and how to pay them. Nikki handled the forgiveness on the PP2 loan. And so that was taken care of. And all of our bills, as Bob and Jim mentioned, they're all paid. They're all current for the first time since I've owned. So these are all things that this board took care of, this board handled, and we have been maligned. We have been called liars, thieves, cheating. And I don't care if I'm on this board. I have a full-time job, and today I have spent nothing but working on this board, and I don't get paid for it. None of us do. So I truly hope that whoever does end up on this board continues the good work and continues to see this get better, because we have been in the hole for a long, long time, and we were condemned. And we couldn't even go in and get the things out of our condo. So, you know, it amazes me to see how few people there are on this meeting tonight. And a lot of the ones who are angry are not here. So with that, I will finish. I thought, Chester, you were going to give us a report on how things are going now from the management standpoint. Can you speak to that? Can you share some information for us, please? You're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. I was actually going to start with, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how'd you like to play? It always kind of disappoints me to, to hear or to see the temperature, where it is, and like to do anything that I can do to help bring that down. Information is key, of course. The availability of information is a Achilles heel with this board, and it wasn't born in the last 6 months. I'd also like to echo just I don't want to say a year in review, but it's pretty obvious to see the optical differences from January to January, because you have not only an open hotel and an open condo, you also have improved grounds. The faces of the building look much better. And largely, most of that was paid for by the assessment that you all agreed to in the first place. So you've played a role in that. You took the wallets out and made those payments, and we got it done in what I think to be record time. And in a letter that I sent out to all of you, and if some of you didn't get it, I was having server problems right about the time I hit the send button. It is up on the web portal now for the owners, and for those of you who don't have that password or have forgotten it, it's all small letters, CRCC 2021, so CRCC 2021. And I apologize for its length, but it seemed like every day we were kind of battling, I guess what I'd call a misinformation campaign. And so I would like to take a page out of Ken's book and suggest that before, if you're all willing, before this next vote takes place, I would like to have an opportunity to present what we've gotten accomplished, and I think I can help with trying to present what some of the issues are with the past financials that make it very difficult to do comparisons as to how we've done this year versus previous years. I'm going to take a small crack at that tonight, but I would really like to see a timeout, if for lack of a better term, have us get together and list, if not directly to the board or only to the board, send them to me. I'll work with the board, and let's just try and create an actual definable list of questions without the vitriol, if we can possibly avoid that, and see what we can do to respond to that. Take one more shot at seeing exactly what it is that you see as a deficiency that is demonstrable, I guess, for lack of a better term. So with that, I've got some numbers. June, and for Ken, for your edification, the management agreement as it is started on January 1st for the HOA. And so we're essentially going to be reporting numbers since we've taken over on June 1st. It was only operated for Memorial Day weekend, 3 days prior to that. So those are the only numbers missing from what's going to be shown. So Judy, could you show the one entitled the Chautauqua Resort Revenue June 2021 through May 2022? You're muted. You're muted.
I didn't download it, so I'm going to have to open that email. Which one is that? Again?
Yeah, as Nelia pointed out, there's a lot of numbers flying around if I do this verbally. So it's on the
Okay, hold on.
the second email that I sent you.
All right, hold on just a second. Let me get in there.
Okay.
All righty, I'll have to go here. Just a second. And we'll close that. And go here. And okay, the second email you sent me, so no, that's not that one. Be patient with me. If you want to talk amongst yourselves, I will find it. Where is it?
Trying to help you find it here.
I didn't know you wanted me to do this. Okay, just a second.
I'm up here when you come in. It's the one that says Streak P&L 2013. So scroll up a little teeny bit. See at the very top it says Streak.
Oh, someone just viewed? No.
I mean, I can.
CL historical P&L results 2013 to 2019. It's about halfway down. And Chester's.
I'm not sure that.
A little bit lower.
Let me tell you.
2001?
Yes.
Okay. All right. There we go. All right. Now, which one do you want me to open? This one?
No, the one without the red in it.
Okay.
The other one on that same email.
I think I only
Actually,
got
it's the next email.
Okay.
The next email right after that.
Okay, so it's not.
Sorry, everybody. We're working with the moving target here in terms of what's important to
Okay,
us.
sorry, I wasn't. No. The forward attachments for Zoom
Sure,
call.
try
There we
that.
go. Okay, so November condo
No.
override, December.
Well, we can start with that. Go ahead and put on.
All right,
no,
there you
right
go.
there, throw that up there. But we're looking for another email, and can we make that larger, or
Yeah.
can everybody see it okay? Okay. One of the owners had asked for the actual source documentation as opposed to the regular kind of monthly report that we put out, which of course is nothing more than a spreadsheet that is cut and pasted onto the email, and then we post that, you know, every month. So at the end of each month, you'll see a revenue report, including year-to-date, monthly, year-to-date. In fact, you know, we prepare it daily, but we send you the one at the end of each month for that preceding month. But this is a page from Open Hotel. Open Hotel is our property management system. So this is the source document that we use to report to the state, that we report to the city, and which is the document that we would use to go through an audit if required or if requested. So the case of where the red arrow is for November shows $51,877. And down at the bottom where it says totals, you've got $717,000. So for the month of November, for the condos only, and you'll see the red arrow up above where it says tagged condo, that means that we did a sort on all of the revenue. So one of the things that's been brought up you know, fairly regularly is that the funds are being commingled. And I'm going to leave that to maybe Ken to speak to after he gets more information about how this particular agreement works. But the funds do come into our bank account from our property management system, and the funds are indeed in a single account. But the accounting for where they belong is done via this report and via this system. So for the year through December, the total was $717,235.65 for the condos. Now, you know, I think it was already pointed out today that 2019 was $612 for the entire year. So with January through May still left, we've already achieved $717,000 versus your what it looked like your best year yet was right at that $600,000 number. So very strong, you know,
Sorry, Chester, I have to interrupt. The 2019 number was the 389, 2018 was the $600,000 one.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's correct. So what I meant was, wasn't 2019, 2019 actually dipped to 338 or whatever it was. Anyway, I'm going to show that later when the other report comes up. But in any event, very strong numbers. I'll have a full screen on that in a second. But I'm showing this mostly to show you that there is a definitive report that is acceptable to the city, to the state of Washington, the city of Long Beach, and it's used across this is used across the country in many hotels. So this is accepted as a source document. So I will, after having said that, if there is some other level of documentation that one is looking to see, I just need to have that request. But because there's thousands of transactions involved, a sampling, like say for instance, a sampling of November, which is a fairly light month, could certainly be put together, but it would have to be, you wouldn't be allowed to see, you know, individual customer names or credit card numbers and what have you. Those would have to be either redacted, or it would be, you know, simply a view over the shoulder to see that, you know, any one period of time that you're looking at tracks with our numbers. And there's also all sorts of different ways that we can make you comfortable with the numbers that are have been reported. And normally when numbers are suspicious, they're suspicious because they're low. These are considerably higher than anything that's been achieved in the past. So I think you should feel pretty safe. They're all there. I mean, it's off these numbers. For instance, it's easy to do the calculation. Through November, $717,235, you would multiply the 7% override to that number for the under the current arrangement that we have is the number that would be due the condo, in addition to the $2,500 a month for the licensing fee. Okay, were we able to find the other email? Let's go, there's a couple of other ones on here. I want to move through them quickly because it's not the real meeting.
Number, historical, profit and
You
loss
go-
statement.
You can go to, let's go to 2019, the one next to it, to the left. Okay, so this is the report that we got from Mike Stoney, the CPA that had apparently done the books. And I say apparently because it's anecdotal to me, but these are the numbers that we got from Mike Stoney just literally in the last week to 10 days. Prior to that, I only had access to a partial year, 6 or 7 months worth, and then it just stopped. So finally, we were able to see some numbers that operated, that gave us something to look at. And I'll just make a quick comment because I'd like to put a stop to that if that's possible. Someone suggested apparently on the call again, I wasn't on the call, so I'll do what I can to, it was told to me by 2 different parties that these numbers weren't accurate and that I had made them up. Okay, so I will say, this will be the most stern I'll be on the call. I'm a high road kind of guy. If someone wants to make a comment that I'm making things up, I would like them to please come forward and produce evidence that my having done so. Because what this is coming straight from your CPA and the only source document that I have to work with for comparative purposes. But it's very difficult to see the numbers on the bottom, which I have them on a separate slide. I can't even get them to you, but roughly speaking, yeah, you can do that. There you go. Then go all the way to the bottom. So what it's showing is a loss of $185,995. I can't speak to that number. I can't speak to how accurate it is. I can't speak to anything other than that's the only document that I have showing your performance. And there's a 1.4, almost $1.5 million worth of expenses. And I want to demonstrate that I think what some people believe is that a 93-7 split is that I'm taking 93% of the revenue and you're still paying all the expenses. So everything in that category, with the exception of your land lease, your property tax and your insurance, is now covered by Long Beach Hospitality Ventures. And I can tell you, again, the sheet's not up, but so far in 2021, our expense level in that period of time is 1.468 million. The good news is we have almost 1.75 million or 1.8 million in revenue. So there's actually a profit. And it's from that profit that the 7% is able to be generated to give you in the first place. And it's from that profit, that net operational profit, that we were also able to make some of the infusions that we've made back into the property. And I realize that we haven't had the right opportunity to explain exactly how the agreement works, but could you go to the next slide, the one with the red numbers?
Oh, the next email?
No.
Yeah, it was in a different email with the red numbers. Now I have to find it. Was it this one? No. Sorry, it was a different email with the red numbers. Where was that one? Attachments for the Zoom call.
It says streak. Someone just
This
viewed
one.
the CL.
It says,
Go back. Streak.
Down or
Someone
up?
just viewed. So go up above Google Calendar. One above Google Calendar.
oh, streak.
There you go.
Revenue
That's the one. Yep.
One. Okay.
That's the email.
No, that's
That's
just saying someone viewed that. I don't have it there.
Yes.
Nikki Yvonne, Judy Street. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't know I was going to be.
Click on that one. Just I only sent Okay, there you go, right. Meeting, the one that says meeting today, click on that one. Let's see what's on there. From me,
Morning report.
attachment for
There
Zoom
it is.
call.
There it is.
No, that's not it. It's from me.
I know. All right, hold on.
Two up from that one. Attachments for Zoom call.
Trabuco.
Yeah, all the rest of the board has it. So if you could just
Okay.
help Judy out here and show her where it is. I can't see that well.
Recording, morning report, open letter. No.
So let's open up the morning.
Right there. You were on it right there.
I think that's the 4.
Okay, roll over
December.
the next, what's on that one right there? Can't see it.
Info from Carol. Lots of things.
Okay, okay, here's two, for those of you that are interested. Okay, and I would hope that as homeowners, you are interested. This is what is represented as the financials that are available historically from the Chautauqua Lodge. This was sent over to me in an email from Carol Cabe on April 4th and said, this is all I have. And I have that email, and it was included in the letter that was sent out. And the only reason I bring it up is that there are so many inconsistencies that there's plenty to spend time working on assembling. And you know, it's not really, I don't have a dog in that fight. I got here in February, but I am trying to help in pointing people to things that say, all right, we need to kind of figure out where this goes, especially as you come out of 2020 into 2021. It's very difficult for any CPA or accountant to figure out beginning books if they don't know what's going on in the previous year. But if you click on, for instance, 2000, I just can't read that. You're gonna have to make it bigger.
The top one,
I'm looking for 2012, if you can see that on there.
Room revenue.
No, 2012. So you'll see it right there.
Profit and loss.
There's one example of 2012. So click on 2012.
Whoops.
That's 2011 and 2012.
It's not opening. Oh, because it's a zip drive. I have to download all of them.
All right. Well, we need. All right. Again, if we can find the one with the red numbers on it, it explains all of it. But what I'm going to tell you, because it is in the letter that I sent out to all of the board meetings, to all of the homeowners, excuse me. And again, for those of you who didn't get it, it's on the portal. And if you need it from me directly, please just send me a quick email. I can.
There it is.
Okay, there you go. Is that, again, I'll make a comment. Someone said that I made these numbers up as well. These numbers are taken from the file, the zip file that was just shown a moment ago. Again, has very little to do with what we're doing this year. It has everything to do with the integrity of the information historically and why it's been kind of a cluster to try and get all this stuff organized. Right. In the case of this goes back to 2013. However, 2011 and 12 are also on the zip drive. But I want to point out that in 2016, there's two numbers. One which is the actual P&L, shows a $17,000 loss, which is very close to breaking even. It also shows $56,000 loss. Two separate reports. One is an actual net or a QuickBooks type report, and the other one is a spreadsheet. In the case of the other 2016, it's a spreadsheet and compares it to 2015, but it shows different numbers. Now in 2012, and again, by the time I was ready to get this out the door, I'm running out of time. But the problem in 2012 is it actually showed a $24,000 profit on what would look like the actual financials. And then in a spreadsheet, or excuse me, just the other way around, 2012 in a spreadsheet. And then in 2012, the actual financial showed a loss of $173,000. So again, it's in all the attached data. So what you've got is some things to look at. There is no information that we have found for 2014 at all, despite looking everywhere. So if somebody's got it, it's in a box somewhere, it's great. Clearly, there's been no effort to, go to, Iron Mountain or the cloud and store all this information on a hard drive, or excuse me, on the cloud somewhere, so that it could be easily accessible by all of you. I mean, all of you as owners should be able to say, all right, I want to go look at, 2016's P&L and maybe even look at some of the backup. So much easier to do if it all gets put into a cloud somewhere and allow you guys to access it under some kind of. I don't know what that is. I'm just saying there's more to look at than 2021, and I'm not saying this to throw anyone under the bus. I'm saying that this is, I think, kind of a colossal problem, to be honest with you, if it were to be audited. So I'm suggesting that if you need to do a 2021 audit, but I think there's going to be some merit into going back, 4 or 5 years, or pick out a couple of years where the information just seems to be completely missing, and find out where the money went. And Ken, for your information, the reference that was made earlier to the change in condo revenue from $600,000 to 338 was only made because traditionally the revenue for the condos has been around $500,000 to $600,000, kind of year over year, and then it dipped to $338,000, and that might just be an aberration, but nobody can explain, where that revenue drop came from. All right, we're able to find the one that I really want to show, which is I'm looking for the one that says Chautauqua. Bob, can you help out by opening that? The one that says the Chautauqua Resort revenue June 2021 through May 2020.
Chester?
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you for a moment.
Sure.
Okay. I am not your audience because I'm not going to vote at the meeting.
Okay.
I have a strong belief that all of the current board members, and actually all of the people that are in the audience who want to move them or remove them, all believe they are working in the best interest of the association.
Okay.
That's never been an issue, is that people are working in the best interest of the association. It's just like the difference between someone who's a Republican and Democrat, or a pro-life or pro-abortion person. There are differences of opinion, even though the intentions of all of the people participating are good. It has been helpful to understand why the association might have chosen to enter into an agreement that paid 7% of gross revenue as compensation, because it comes with a substantial reduction in the risk to the association related to the ongoing expenses. And I would guess that that's one of the things which has not been well understood by the membership. But I also have no idea what the agreement actually looks like, because I've never seen it yet.
Right.
But I understood that the litigation started because of an objection to the management agreement. And I also know that many of the claims that are brought in the lawsuit, because I have read the lawsuit, relate to issues that go back 35, 45 years. They have nothing to do with the current issues. And I actually believe they have nothing to do with what is in the best interest of the association to do going forward. It's really clear that the way the community has operated for some number of years is incredibly different from how the documents were written back in the 1970s. And I don't know how much of that's because, Long Beach has changed, or the desire of people to have vacation homes versus investment properties have changed. None of that's really important. But what is very clear is that there's a big difference between what the documents say should happen between the rights and obligations of the owners and how the community has come to operate with those. And that's true from the board before the current board. And again, goes back many, many years. So one of the things that the community needs to do is to figure out how it wants to operate as a community association. And that could be what your documents read like, or it could be something completely different. But the reason that the lawsuit has some potential to succeed is because there's a difference between the documents language and the actual practice of the association. And again, those are problems which date back many, many years. And it's also clear that there's been really, I'll just say, sloppy record keeping of all kinds. If the association can't produce old board meeting minutes, if they can't produce CPA audits, if they can't produce reserve studies, then those are indications of, I'll say, long-term poor management and a failure to comply with the law. That doesn't mean the people doing the job on the board weren't trying to do the right thing. But those are really not important issues for tonight. It'd be nice if owners could have information in some reasonable way to make an informed decision when they do the recall or when they elect new board members. But that's not going to happen tonight. And part of the problem is that people talking are just immediately distrusted in the same way that politicians are distrusted when they speak. And so what I don't want to do is have this board, which does have some important business to get done tonight, just spend the entire time trying to defend their actions, but instead work on the business you actually have to conduct tonight.
Fair enough.
Okay. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
So in terms of that was towards our operational updates. In terms of our financial updates, we pretty much covered the outstanding debts. Our treasurer was not available today. I met with Yvonne from our financial department with our accountants this morning or this afternoon. There was not a lot to, Yvonne, would you like to add anything? Our bills are paid. All of our bills are paid. Is there anything more that you would like to discuss or bring up that I'm not the accountant? So
we went over the accounts payable and determined what bills had to be paid, which was basically the lease and some professional services bills, which was all positive. That was all there was. And then we talked about the financials. And the reason why the financials are taking such a long time is because there's like balancing back and forth that needs to happen between the HOA and the LLC so that we can properly separate them. And it seems like simple on the surface, but it's obviously more complicated than that. And also just kind of making sure that the numbers make sense. I could send you a financial right now. It will make no sense and you'll be kind of annoyed by it. So we actually talked about doing that, but then concluded that it wouldn't be beneficial to just send something to annoy people. So the accounting firm has assured me and Judy that they will have the profit and loss for the 6 months of 2021 for just the HOA next week, as well as the balance statement. There are two glaring things that need to be dealt with, both of them relating to separating. And as soon as those two are separated and properly accounted for, we can go ahead and send out the financials. We also discussed sending out the financials for the HOA LLC combined entity, which would have been January to June or so of this year or last year. And we can certainly do that. I don't know how, I don't know what they look like. I've just been told that it's been a bit of a mess and that it doesn't make a lot of sense, but happy to hand them over and let someone look at it. They haven't finalized them yet. The accountant needs to do that. And they're working towards getting everything to the accountant. Other than that, I don't believe we really covered any other thing other than yes, they were working on the invoices, and yes, they had reached out to people and were working with them and hopefully getting everything kind of wrapped up for end of year.
Okay. And in an update on the K versus Chautauqua Law Association lawsuit, Bob, you reached out to Joe Vance with Miller Nash. Do you want to, it was just an email. Do you want to?
Yeah, it was just a paragraph. Give me a second. I'll bring that up. I think I will anyway.
You could just read it to us.
Yeah, give me 1 second here. I wasn't ready for that.
I couldn't find it. Sorry.
I'm getting it. Too many emails. Give me just a second.
That's my problem.
So I can speak for a moment on that.
Okay, great. That'd be
Okay.
great.
Because some of the membership may be interested. The insurance company has appointed an attorney, which is Joe Vance of Miller Nash Law Firm. But the insurance will only pay for defending the lawsuit. They won't pay for counterclaims if there were any counterclaims. They won't pay for advising the board on issues like governance. They won't help the association interpret the governing documents. All they do is cover defense for damages asserted against the association. So it's very common when an association gets into litigation in a situation like you have, for the association to be required to obtain their own attorney and pay their own attorney to be involved in the litigation, because some of the issues involved are not specific to defending the claims. I did spend a while talking with Joe Vance on Monday morning. One of the things he's trying to do is get information. And part of that is trying to figure out what it is the plaintiff wants, because it's very unclear from the complaint what the plaintiff is actually seeking in the litigation. And some of the things which are in the complaint, I would offer have been put in just because there's a difference between what the document requires and what the practice is, because they lead to the ability to find a claim, even if it's not related to one of the objectives of the person. So Joe was saying he was trying to figure out what was wanted, was hoping to have a mediation with the parties involved, because you now have at least 3 separate parties, and see if there wasn't some way to find a solution that would satisfy the association and the plaintiff and third parties which have been named in the lawsuit. His biggest frustration was the lack of information.
And I have that update if you're ready.
Sure, go ahead.
Plaintiff Cave has amended her complaint to include Long Beach Hospital Ventures LLC as a necessary party to the suit. Plaintiff's amended complaint was filed with the court on January 7, 2022. Plaintiff and defendants counsel are actively working to schedule a mediation as soon as possible, at which we will hope to clarify and resolve the parties' points of conflict. Preparation for that mediation, we are currently gathering and analyzing relevant association documents and records. Further update will be provided when the mediation is scheduled.
Great.
That was it.
Thank you, Bob. And let's see, I'm looking at my agenda here. So we wanted to report that we had actually made a motion in April to start repairs on the roof. However, at this point, due to the fact that we're in a lawsuit and we're currently being recalled from the board, we are postponing that repair or that replacement because of that. That's not something that this board is going to get involved in and then leave you guys high and dry. So unfortunately, that's not something that we can do at this time. So that is the report on that. So with that, I believe we will move to executive session to to discuss other items. Would anyone like to?
Before we do that, do you want to set a time for the recall election, or you want to go through executive
I'd
first?
like to go through executive session first, if that's okay with you.
Up to me, and if it's okay with Ken.
Is that okay?
Yes,
with
that's
you?
a board decision.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Would anyone like to stay for after executive session?
Don and Vicky will stand by.
Okay, we'll put you in the waiting room. Anybody else?
I would ask Ken if he could stay so that we could give him a date.
I think, Ken, were you going to join us in executive?
Yes, I'm going to join you in executive
Yeah.
session.
That'd be even better. Thank you.
You know, I don't know how to put people in the waiting room, I don't think. Let me see, where are they?
Judy, I would like to stay.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you.
Judy, I put Mr. and Mrs. Becker in the waiting room.
Okay,
Don't worry.
can you put Susie in
Joe
the
and Trudy would like to wait.
who? I'm sorry.
Can LaDonna?
Molly, stop. I'm sorry. Stop. LaDonna, you said you wanted to wait?
Yes, please. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
I'd like to wait also.
Can wait 319.
Would it be easier just to put them all in the waiting room, and if they don't want to stay, they can hang up?
Yes,
It would be easier. You're muted, Judy. You're muted.
I'm sorry. We're going to put everybody in the waiting room. And if you don't want to stay, you can leave there.
Thank you.
Okay. Chester, thank you for your time.
Okay, so Ken, would I typically need to be excused from this as a manager?
He
Yes.
could certainly.
Yeah.
And two more. Right?
I've put I haven't put Julie in the waiting room. Sorry, Julie. The only way I can exit is to just completely exit. So I will do so.
Thank you, Yvonne. I appreciate your help.
Toodles.
Bye. Okay. All right. Well. Nope, we lost Yvonne. You got to go. How do I go, Yvonne?
Try putting her in the waiting room.
All right. That's the thing I don't know how to do well.
by clicking on her box and see if you get a menu.
All right, menu, pin. All right, remove co-host permissions. Okay, there's that. Remove, there we go. Remove, okay, she's gone. Okay.
Technology is your friend again.
Sort of. Whoa, now I shrunk everybody down to a small window. I don't want to do that. There you are. All right.
Okay, so I have a short list of things that I would want to cover.
Okay.
One thing I would offer that I think I just from listening to some of the comments today, if you get financial records from the CPA, I would recommend they be distributed fairly quickly. So if those come out next week, I would recommend they be distributed. I think it would be valuable information for your membership to make a decision.
We've been trying to get we've been trying. Yeah.
Well, I'm not questioning that you've been
Yeah.
trying. And I'm not questioning that there has been an incredible lack of appropriate accounting over many years. What I'm saying is that if you tell people that documents are going to come out or that the financials will come out and then don't share them, there will be an increased perception that you're withholding information. So even if you're
because we haven't handed things out. So.
Yeah. So even if you're concerned that the documents are not going to be accurate, it's going to be better to provide inaccurate documents than no documents. Unless, the only substitute is a letter from your CPA saying why they're not producing them for you. And if that means you've got a set of documents that is correct, or more correct for the last half of the year than the first half of the year, I would still give out what you have.
Okay.
And to the extent you can make the older records available, so that list which Chester had of all the old financials, if that has not been sent to your attorney, Joe Vance, I'd certainly send it to him. Send a copy of that list to me if you can.
That can happen.
I won't use it, but I'd like to know where it is.
I can get that to you. I have it all because I collected it from Stony, so I'll do that.
And I did not send you a copy of the management agreement. I can send that to you. I thought I sent that to you.
It's possible it's in that zip folder that you sent me.
No.
I've been trying to not spend all my time just
Yeah.
out of curiosity looking at all your documents.
Yeah.
There's some specific needs you have now. I'm trying to address those. If you want to retain me to do more than that afterwards, I'm happy to do that. But the immediate issue is this recall election. And I will offer, I don't normally take retainers, but I did send you an email. I'm concerned on this one because it's certainly a high probability that the board will change and then they won't want to pay my bill. And, I'm less expensive an hour than Joe Flannery, even though arguably I have better credentials, but we have a trust account in the law firm. And so what I would like is if you would send a check to put into the trust account. And I sent you, Judy, the title of the trust account so that when bills come out, I won't take the money out of the trust account until the bills have been sent to the association and you have an opportunity to approve them. But it would make me feel like I'm not wasting my time working with this community.
Absolutely. We will take it. When did you send that to me?
I sent that email, I think it was last night with the draft of the process for the recall and election.
Okay. I'll
to
go
the
look at
text
that
of the text of that email.
I will forward that to the accountant and make sure it's paid tomorrow.
Okay, and I put it in bold, the name of the trust account. And then beyond that, my agenda item then is to talk about the scheduling of the recall meeting and the procedures for the recall and then the election following. I know there's a lot of hesitancy about trying to do it by mail because there is distrust over who's going to get it, how it will be done. I actually like mail, but the bigger concern is that doing an election by mail is incredibly challenging. And so even if you were to decide to do the recall by mail, I'd probably recommend that you be doing an election with a live meeting and a voice vote, meaning a roll call vote where each owner is called in turn and gets to vote for who they want to put on the board.
Wouldn't that be handled by different people than us at that point?
Well, and that's part of what you'd want to figure out is who runs the meeting, or, in your bylaws, it calls for inspectors of the election. Okay. And theoretically, those would be a couple of homeowners that people would agree would be honest and could keep a spreadsheet and tally up the votes and count them and announce. But when you're doing a voice vote anyway, everybody on the call can track how everyone has voted. And so it's really, really difficult to cheat the system. The only thing it doesn't do and cannot do is provide for secrecy of ballots. You can't have a secret ballot. Your documents don't provide for secret ballots anyway. So I sent a process which Joe Flannery agreed was a reasonable process. She did agree to my understanding of the documents regarding proxies and regarding the vote required to remove the board members. It does require a full 51% of the voting power to remove a board member. So if even a small number of the people who are attending the meeting were to support the current board, then the current board would stay in place. I think what you do have is a number of people who were happy to support having an election, not because they wanted to vote you guys off, but because they believe in a democratic process. They believe that if people want to call an election, they should have an opportunity to do that. You know, I had a client a few years ago where the board president was in tears because she had gotten this recall note from a faction of owners. And I convinced her that they did not represent the whole. And in fact, when the meeting took place, even though I think it was 30% had voted to have a recall meeting, 85% of the membership voted to keep her as president. And so the biggest challenge on getting an informed decision is information for the people. And unfortunately, right now, you've got a very vocal faction of owners, which has Gail and someone named Nikki, from what I can tell.
No,
and
That's
maybe
me.
Carol. I think
I'm Nikki.
There's a Nikki Hansen.
no,
No, that's Christy.
Hansen.
Christy Hansen. I'm sorry. So
And
Christy, there's
Celia.
two Christies.
Yeah.
So Christy Hansen.
And let me just
and
tell you that Nelia has just sent us two very, very ugly emails in the time that we were having this meeting.
doesn't surprise me. You've
Yeah.
got these people who are paying no attention to anything.
Yeah.
They are like rabid Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm not offending people by that reference. But, you know, it's like the, what is it, 21 million Americans who believe that the election was fraudulent and that Biden should not be president. And there is not particularly good evidence to support that. But if people want to believe, they're going to believe. And you cannot argue with them. A good explanation doesn't help. If you can produce any solid evidence that would support, I'll say, failures by the previous board or failures by Carol, that's valuable. But a narrative in word, you know, just someone telling a story is not going to help. So that's in some respects why, if you can get the financials, something similar to what Chester had put together, showing the losses every year. And if that was to be countered by an ability to show that the last 6 months of 2021 produced a net profit to the association of $50,000, that might actually be convincing to some people. But
you would think.
And then that's the other thing I guess I would say is that frequently when I see boards under attack, the board members feel like they're not allowed to tell people their story, or they're not allowed to contact people the same way. The reality is the same tactics that a group like Nikki, or Vicky rather, Vicky,
Christy.
I'm sorry.
I know, I keep being called the two.
I'm sorry. The tactics
okay.
that Christy is using to sort of get out the vote or demand proxies, et cetera, those can be used by anybody. And they may seem pushy and unfair, and they are pushy. But that's one way of trying to make an argument, is that, you know, they are not supporting what they're doing with facts. from what I can tell, it's just stories. I think that there are multiple different agendas. I think Christie's agenda is different than Gail's agenda is different than Carol's agenda. Carol's been willing to find someone to do a lawsuit for her.
Carol was the one who was doing this the whole
Yes,
time.
her name showed up.
Yeah.
So most owners are not willing to spend their own money in order to try and champion their cause. And that's part of why it's easy to get some of these votes, is that, you know, one of the rumors is that if the board is thrown off, then Carol will drop the lawsuit.
Yeah.
I can tell you her attorney told me flat out that's not true.
That's what
And
she's been
I
telling me.
asked the attorney directly that question.
Is that
And-
something we can relay to homeowners? Because that's what people
They
are
won't
voting
believe us
on.
anyway. They won't believe us anyway, so it wouldn't
Nope,
matter.
they won't.
So
Well, the real question is, has Carol put out something formally stating that she will drop the lawsuit if the board is removed?
she never does anything formally. She tells people things and then
Right.
she lets them go out and spread the rumors.
So I think that you could say that there is, you know, that Carol has made no assurances to the association or anyone else that she will drop her litigation. And that it is certainly, it would be true if you said that her attorney told me that a change in the board would not change the lawsuit.
Okay.
That's good to know.
But it's all hearsay.
Carol is very good at telling untruths, and then when she's called on something, she just says, well, whatever. It happens at various meetings that she's done. Joe is her next door neighbor, and on the last town hall, Joe said that Carol is retained me to do this, and I don't work cheap. So she's in this, she has a retainer with Carol, but she's expecting the lawsuit to pay for that the retainer.
Sure, she's expecting, my guess is that she's expecting to go to mediation and have the insurance company make a settlement offer to Carol to pay her, which will include paying her attorney's fees. Because insurance companies don't like paying lawyers either. And so it would be easy for the cost to defend this lawsuit to exceed $100,000. And especially with the, I'll say the mess of records which you have to support what's going on in the past. Because instead of having good meeting minutes to show decisions made in the past, or even to say what Carol has done in the past, you've got a lot of stories, and so people have to do depositions, and then you have different memories of what happened in the past.
We have a lot of emails to substantiate a lot of our stuff though, too.
Okay.
Nikki has
And-
quite a few. So
I don't know what discovery requests have been made in the lawsuit. I don't know if your lawyer has requested all of Carol's documents. It's certainly
apparently
something.
you asked me to let him know that Joe Flannery had received a lot of things from us that she did not forward to Marin, and I did. And he did get those from Joe Flannery. They responded back to me today that he had received the documents that had been loaded up into her system earlier this year. So I do know he has those. So I do
It's
know
just
that.
you're missing an enormous number of documents that you should have.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I will tell
Uh,
you that Carol has them, Ken, because when I would ask for things, she doled them out to me when I first got on the board and was trying to figure out what we, you know, like, can I see the LLC documents? Can I see the bylaws? She would give me a little bit, and then I would be going off of what she gave me. And then she was like, oh, I forgot to give you this.
Well, you should ask Joe Vance to do a discovery request and get them all.
Okay.
I mean, that's something that the insurance defense should pay for.
Well, we did
not
ask
something-
our previous lawyer, Marin Colvert, to, I personally had asked for some certain documents because I'm trying to file an employee retention credit for us.
And I sent
And-
that to Ken to show him. an
Okay,
example.
so you have a timeline of that, and I have all the emails to back that up, but we were told specifically by Marin that Joe Flannery told her that Carol did not have this information. However, 3 months later, she sent it all to me.
Well, all I'm saying is that the courts have a process.
Right.
Joe Vance can use that process to get information.
Okay.
And I would encourage you to let him know you need that done. Because you need the documents to help the owners understand what's going on.
Okay.
So you received the proxies that they supposedly collected yesterday and the votes that
Yes.
apparently showed removing us from the board by a majority of the homeowners.
No, they show that there was enough votes if every proxy voted that would do that. But one of the interesting things was that there were, like I said, more than 20 proxies assigned to Carol, but Carol gave a proxy to, is it Vicky
Christy.
now? Am I getting it right?
Christy.
No, I better just write that down. So Carol gave a proxy to Christy. Now, if Carol thought that Christy could vote all those proxies that were assigned to Carol, she's wrong. So if the proxy holder doesn't show up, those votes disappear. So I didn't understand why Carol would have given a proxy to Christy,
No.
because if she didn't show up, all of the votes would just be lost that were assigned to Carol. And if Christy didn't show up, none of her proxies could be cast either.
I believe they were both there, correct?
There
Bob?
was
That's my
no meeting.
understanding.
Remember, there was no meeting.
Yeah.
What happened last night was a discussion amongst owners. It was not an association meeting. And no one is claiming it was. No one is claiming you were voted off the board last night.
Oh, some are.
I can tell you that the attorney for Carol is quite certain you're still on the board.
Okay.
And she doesn't want you all to resign before the day of the election if you were to choose to resign. She would like you all to resign because it makes her life easier, but she doesn't want it to happen until the day of the meeting
Why?
because she does not want the association to have no board.
What happens if we do?
Well, the question would be, who can make any decision on behalf of the board? Who can call a meeting? And there would be no one. And so it's better to have somebody, and this is something I said to you too, Judy. I would rather you be on the board. And if you want to resign, just have it effective at the meeting. So did all of you have a chance to look at the procedures which I put together?
Yeah, I looked at them. And I thought that if we go forward with a date, February 10th would be fine with me. And we send out all the appropriate notices, at least 17 days, but I'd rather do 20 days ahead of that.
Well, it's not going to be able to go out before Monday. So you'd get, I guess you'd have 17 days. Your bylaws only require 10 days. And by statute, notice is considered given when it's put in the mail.
Yes.
So you can give more days if you think it's appropriate. The only reasons to give more days might be that you expect better information to be available. or you want more time to try and, get out the vote or get people interested. It does look like there's about 25 owners who are not participating in any of what's going on. And I don't know if that's because they support you or they're just completely apathetic and indifferent, or they can't be contacted.
A little bit of all of that, I think.
Also, they're afraid to get involved. There's been a lot of ugliness, and I think there's a lot of, at least I've heard from a few people that they just don't even want to be associated with any of it.
And that is unfortunate. I don't know how many of the owners are actually investors and how many are really just trying to have a vacation home, which might pay for part of itself through the hotel operations. I understand there's at least some owners who want to be able to freely rent their units without any participation by the hotel operation, so that they can get 100% of the revenue from their Airbnb or however they want to do it. What Joe is saying is that these were intended to be essentially residences. And I'm sure that's not the case.
That can't be, because Long Beach zoning laws restrict that. It's a weird, you can stay there for 3 days, but you have to check out on day 30.
And
But I
Carol
don't
was,
know if that was true when the declaration of condo was formed. So you'd have to look back at the 1970s zoning to know if that's true.
well, Carol was the real estate agent that was in charge of the condo that was sold to me. And she mentioned that quite specifically, that it was 21 days a month, 3 weekends, 2 in the summer. She forgot to mention the fact there was all the money that we owed on loans. That's my fault for not getting to it. But she knew exactly what it was for, but now she would like to go a different direction.
No, it
Does the
wasn't.
association issue resale certificates?
We do.
I
Yes.
have not received one.
I
Well,
didn't
in
receive one
theory-
either, and Carol sold me my unit, and it was sold the same way as a rental pool. That's why I paid the price I paid for it. I had a long discussion with her about it, so I understood what was going on. I got the bylaws, I got the,
I can show you because I'm a realtor, I can show you how many, just an average of how many of the units Carol has sold in the past few years. She's sold at least 90% of the units.
Well,
She's a licensed CPA, Ken, and she's a licensed real estate agent.
well, if she's a CPA, she's running way short of fulfilling her
No kidding.
obligations.
You don't say.
So there's been no audit of the association in the
No.
past 20 years.
No. The reserves, there's 0 reserves.
See,
And
one of the
that's-
questions I had for Joe Vance was whether or not any counterclaims were going to be brought against Carol for, we'll say, her breach of her duty as a board member in the past. And I would say there's almost certainly a breach of her duties in serving on the board because of the way that the board was managed in the past. Part of the problem is asserting that claim could mean that there's equally claims against other board members and former board members. But they're not suing the association, so there may not be a reason to do anything about it. And I asked Joe Vance if there was a reason strategically to assert claims against her individually or in response, which would, number one, allow the insurance company to pay for it, and secondly, give her some greater incentive to settle. Now, his response was that he didn't want to do a lawsuit against her or a counterclaim, but that he certainly was expecting at mediation to hold out that here were the claims that could be brought against her if she didn't settle. So if she is a CPA, then she has, I would suggest, a higher duty of care in performance of her duties as the treasurer and as a board member, because, for example, she should have known that a CPA audit was required on an annual basis. And the commingling of funds is not a clear-cut issue. The way it's written in the complaint is that the fact that the revenue from the hotel rooms goes into a pot along with the LLC's rooms is commingling. And I actually don't think that is. The commingling would mean if you took, say, the reserve account for the association or the operating account that you're paying bills out of and combined that with the account for the LLC or the, whatever their name is, Harbor Properties Investments.
Yeah.
The law was written actually to prevent real estate companies, because when you have apartment houses under real estate management, they frequently have a single large bank account and you just have the accounting done for each of the individual properties. But they are one bank account. And for whatever reason in 1990, the statute for condos was written and said that you could not have your bank account for the association combined in that same way. So you have different income streams that you're dealing with. You've got the HOA dues. Those should be going into an account controlled exclusively by the association.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
You have the payments from the hotel management company that are made to the association that should go into the association's account. Apparently you have some bills like insurance and your lease payment that are paid exclusively from that account. The fact that you have other income sources like from the hotel operation that are commingled with the hotel operation of the LLC, that is not an income stream that's directly to the association. Those are fees that might be appropriately handled through the management company. You know, the other hotel that I work with out on Lake Chelan, they have a separate management company that handles the rental pool. About 70 or 80% of the owners participate in that. And that company collects all of the hotel income, pays for all of the staff, all the laundry services, everything else, and then distributes money as a fee back to the association, and then distributes money to each of the participants in the rental pool. So in theirs, none of the money from the rental pool hits the association's bookkeeping. But it's a different method of dealing with it. And I will say, before I got some of the information I had today, I didn't understand why the board would have entered into an agreement accepting only 7% of the rental of the hotel revenue. But I think I understand it now. And I think that it is supportable as a rational business decision. Even though I'm certain Carol is saying it's not, because it's alleged in her lawsuit. I'm sure you've got other investors who just want to find some way to make more money. And if the management agreement is precluding them doing that, then they want to get rid of the board that supports the management agreement. I don't know how they anticipate getting out of the management agreement. And that's not been something I have been engaged to deal with. So I'm not dealing with that now.
Historically, we've never made any money. Historically, we've ended in the hole. So homeowners have not received anything back ever, in years at least, in many, many years.
There's
right,
never
and
been
then
a
I'll say that
profit
confuses me, because it seems like you ought to be able to generate revenue operating a hotel.
Yeah, you'd think.
You know, the units in
we're
my
oceanfront. We have beautiful property. There's no reason why we shouldn't have been making a profit.
my client in Lake Chelan, you know, they are only occupied really from Memorial Day through Labor Day. They get a little bit of business in the Christmas season. But I mean, they're literally empty for 7 months of the year. And yet the income stream they get justifies a value on most of the units of over $200,000 just because of the revenue stream they get. And it's a little hard to believe that you wouldn't command pretty much equally good revenue if you've got the facilities.
But the facilities were let to go so badly. It really bad. I mean, the concrete on the walkways were breaking to the point that you could look down and see the walkway below.
Right. And so the challenge really is, you've got certainly a block of owners who are just unhappy with something about the revenue contract. And others who are just unhappy that they keep having assessments and special assessments. You've got at least one owner who's unhappy they can't live in their unit full time.
And he was promised that he could by Carol when he bought his unit.
I was thinking more in terms of Gail.
Well, Gail owns 2 units now, so she just goes back and forth between the 2. I don't know what, one wonders, but
anyway, so in terms of a decision tonight about the notice and procedure for the meeting, I think I would recommend you make a decision and that be something you can announce in the general meeting after you're done with me.
And you're recommending the proxy.
I'm recommending the process, which I know will be accepted by Carol's lawyer. And I believe is a way to get a fair and accurate vote.
But they all have to come into me and then I have to send them to you, and it's taking away from my job. And I'm tired of getting beat up by these people and having to take away from my job to do it. I spent my entire day today on this, and that's I'm emotionally beat. I'm not sleeping at night and I have to work. This is not my full-time job. So
there would be 2 things I could offer on that. One is that you could hire a management company temporarily just to handle something like getting all of the proxies and conducting the meeting. There's a number of management companies that just work with condo associations and HOAs, and it might be possible to find one of those to do that, so that when the proxies come in, they all go in place. A second thing to do would be, if you set a deadline of the proxies to be due at noon the day of the meeting, you just don't deal with it until noon the day of the meeting. I would normally even say set up a separate email address so they just go one place. We could save some of the problem by telling people to email them to my office and Joe Flannery's office and the secretary at the same time. That would be a way that you might be getting them, but you're not having to deal with them.
It's just what the kind of vicious.
But it is, I agree. Is the CPA's office willing to do something like collect the ballots and count the votes?
I don't know. I would have to ask them.
Because you have a relationship with the CPA. I'm assuming they are trustworthy.
Well, our CPA, it's our accounting office that we do more work with. The CPA is more just doing the end of year taxes and K1s. So I don't know if they would.
I would still suggest it might be worth talking to the accounting office then and see if it's possible for them to handle sending the notice out and receiving the ballots and distributing them. And maybe even conducting the meeting. Someone needs to have a spreadsheet set up that they can open up on their computer. And as the votes are taken on a roll call basis, they are counted and tally up automatically at the bottom of the spreadsheet.
No, I know one thing we discussed, and it might be completely out of the realm, is that having all of the owners have to actually do a vote rather than assign a proxy to do the voting for them. And the reason we brought that up is, to me, it's a wonder that 20 owners can assign Carol as their proxy to vote as Carol decides when she's the one that's suing all the rest of the owners.
Well, the assumption is if a person shows up at the meeting, they're going to vote for themselves. Their proxy is void. And that's part of it. And the other thing is that some of the proxies were exclusively to remove the board and did not give Carol or Christie the ability to vote for their replacements. And I thought that was sort of interesting because it was a limited proxy that only allow for one vote. And so if those proxies were to come back the same way, you might get removed, but then those same people couldn't participate in the voting. The other thing that you can do is there's nothing to preclude you running for the board again after you've been removed.
No. That won't happen.
Well, that may sound strange, but I've had other situations where the whole board was thrown out in exactly this kind of vote. And after it was done and the membership got to vote on new people and they saw who was going to replace the board they just took out, they voted back on 40% of the board. Because in terms of how long they'd been on the board. So for example, Bob, you're a relative newcomer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They may not agree with, or they may agree with it. We need to get rid of the whole board. But they may actually, when they look at the other choices, decide you are an objective outsider who can help lead the board and agree to put you back on. And
I think I would decline, though. I really do. I don't think that the people that they had on their notice that they put out for the town hall meeting, which was unofficial, but they actually put their own little names out as we're interested in serving on your board. And I would be distressed to have to serve with any of the people that mentioned that.
Well, I'll tell you that Joe Flannery agreed with me that there was nothing to prohibit other nominations besides the people who said they wanted to be on the board, and nothing to prohibit existing board members from being nominated again.
Just
Not
a
saying you have to do it.
Two of the people that have put their names out there to be on the board, one of them didn't pay her assessments at all last year, is refusing to pay them. And one of them is the person who has that loan with the HOA, which was set up by Carol.
Mortgage,
And has not made a payment on that since last April. So they have significant outstanding debt.
So I think it would be reasonable for the treasurer to advise the rest of the members that these two nominees are delinquent to the association. Because those should be verifiable facts.
Well, that was done at the meeting on the 13th, and he got ripped apart for that.
And Carol said that our bylaws didn't say anything about whether or not people owed money.
I will agree the bylaws have no qualifications for serving on the board. If you were to rewrite them, I would put in that they could not be nominated or serve.
Well, that was one of our goals this year, but we spent more time doing this, so it didn't get done. So anyway, okay, well, you guys, whatever you decide, I'll support.
I think, Bob, you were supportive of trying to have the meeting on January 10th.
And it's really kind of up to you if you're okay with thinking that'll be giving us time to do what needs to be done. I know you've put all of it into an email today. It looked good. 10th, 17th, whatever you think. I just soon get it done and move forward.
I will not communicate with another person, another homeowner under any circumstances between now and then. I won't do it.
I think that's all right.
If I stay.
I
at
think
all.
Chester will be sending out information, and the notice of the meeting is going to have a lot of information in it.
And I'll make sure that I get all that information from Mike Stoney up on the site as well. And I'll get that to you as well, Ken.
Don, did you have a comment?
Jim.
Or Jim, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'll just go along with what everybody wants to do.
All right, well, let's pick a date for the meeting. Do you want to do the 10th, which is, I would say, at the early end of when it could be done? You could pick Monday, the 14th.
No, you cannot.
Tuesday,
That's
Wednesday, Thursday that week.
That's my birthday. You cannot have the 14th.
Happy birthday to you.
No.
And my birthday was Monday this week, so
Oh, happy birthday.
I got to turn 65, so.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well,
for
hey,
you.
that's an honor. Not everybody makes it to 65, so that's a good thing.
You're
It's
a
totally
young-
underrated.
Yeah.
Underrated, yes. Okay, so the 10th.
Well,
What day of the week is that?
that's a
That's a
Thursday.
And be a week before the scheduled HOA meeting. If any of us are gone, they would have that meeting they could set up for their new leadership group.
Are you saying you've got us already scheduled an HOA meeting?
We always
Is
have
it-
one on the third Thursday of every month.
Correct.
Okay, that's a board meeting, not a
Board meeting.
HOA meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's different.
But homeowners are invited to attend. That's
But that's part of your culture that you
Yeah.
need to
Right.
get
Right.
away from,
Yeah.
Right.
is this idea that everybody gets to participate every month.
Well, it happened because of the seriousness of when we.
Red tagged. When we were red tagged and
It's
shut down.
just out of control right now,
It
and
is.
it needs something different.
What there was is there's normally 2 meetings a year, which were done in person before COVID, for homeowners to gather together at the condos and have an owners meeting.
So I would not care from the perspective of your board meeting. You know, if you don't want to do it the 17th, don't do it 17th. But otherwise, it's pretty much irrelevant.
Yeah.
The 10th is on the short end. If you want to delay it into the next week, I don't have any problem. I don't think Joe will have a problem with that. Joe understands that I did advise you not to do the roofing contract, and that my advice to you is don't do anything which is going to appear to you trying to, do lame duck legislation where you're, trying to get stuff done before you're thrown out.
Okay.
I don't
That's
think
right.
that was your intent. It's not why you were trying to do the roof, and I understand that. I just didn't want it to appear that you have made a decision because that you were getting thrown off.
Mhm.
Well, then the 17th, the following Thursday, that'd be fine with me too. Gives us one more week to.
I'm good with the 17th because that'll give us more time to get more information out there because we're just coming across more information to share. And I think, our documents are getting more updated. So it'd be nice to be able to get all that out before the proxies go into place, because I think that's also part of it, is that people are voting with their proxies before they've had a chance to really see actual factual information.
I think that's
Okay,
true.
Judy?
So,
That's fine.
okay, then after we're done, which hopefully is soon here, you can, in regular session, go ahead and make a motion to have the recall meeting on the 17th of February, and the notices will go out next week.
Okay.
And if you want them to come out of my office, I can do that. If you want to just have me send it to somebody and it goes out elsewhere, that's fine too.
Okay.
They'll
And
mean
we
more.
have to
coming out of
decide where we
your
want
office.
the proxies sent also.
Well, we need to talk to 4A to see if they could handle that. So I could find that out
But we
tomorrow.
don't have to know that until we actually send out the documents, right, Ken?
I think that, yes, that can be in the notice.
Okay.
Okay.
But if,
So we
if your,
would need to
if
find
your
that out.
accounting service is willing to do that, I think that is a good compromise. I think that Joe Flannery would accept that.
Because I don't want to deal with it. That's why, I was like.
I understand
I
completely.
don't want to deal with it. So.
Yep.
And it takes away their argument that we're being unethical or unhonest.
Right.
Okay, so then
Okay.
let's do the motion for the, I think you
17th.
need to do that.
Okay.
And then hopefully by Monday or Tuesday, we can know whether or not the accounting company will receive the proxies.
Hopefully I
And-
can find that out tomorrow.
And
So-
even if they'd be willing to run your Zoom meeting or be the inspectors of the election to
They might
keep
be.
track of the votes during the meeting.
They're good at Zoom.
They are really good. And
They are.
Elizabeth can be,
Yeah, Elizabeth is great. She's
Well, that
she's-
sounds like a really good option for how to run the meeting then.
okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
But
And they can be the inspectors of the election.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'm moved to go back to regular session.
All right. I'm going to admit all right now.
Joe,
Second.
second.
So Ken, do we explain or just make a motion or what do we do?
I would just make the motion.
Okay. So I need someone to make a motion to set the date for our new recall meeting for February 17th.
So moved. 6 p.m. February 17th.
6 p.m. February 17th. And can I take
Second.
a second? All in favor?
Aye.
And the notices will go out next week. That's what we voted on. You guys got the vote.
Okay, so Judy, the other thing I would recommend, which I forgot to discuss a moment ago, was that the procedure which is going to be used, I would recommend that that be distributed so that people
Okay.
understand that the process is going to follow what Joe Flannery, Carol's attorney, and I had worked out in order to try and make sure that everyone felt that it was a fair and accurate process.
And that will go out with the notice,
Notices.
correct?
I think that's a reasonable way to deal with it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So notices and procedures will be mailed out next week for the meeting on February 17th at 6 p.m. And it will be a Zoom meeting.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That will be, yeah. Okay.
And so one of the things I had agreed with Joe Flannery is that she will get a copy of the meeting notice before it goes out, so she can agree it was reflecting her and my understanding.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's part of why there's going to be a little delay in the notice coming out, is to make sure that Joe Flannery agrees that it is properly done. I'm trying to avoid process challenges because that's what we sort of had when I got involved on this Friday. There had been complaints by Joe Flannery about the process.
Okay. So with that, I think we could adjourn the meeting. Could I have someone make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
And a second?
Jim will second.
Okay, thank you, Jim. And I'd like to thank you all for being patient in the waiting room. And Ken, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us this evening and answering our questions. Thank you all.
Great. Good night, you guys.
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks.